Welcome to Film Mr. Nice Guy. I'm your host, MNG. And one of the things I have for you today, I have a father that is talking about he has lost connection with his son. Now, there's a very interesting twist on this post, and I pulled it from Reddit. But before we get into that, make sure you go ahead and hit that notification bell. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you can get all the latest notifications for everything that we're going to upload. And definitely go back and look at some of the other videos that we have already posted. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into it. So basically, this is how the post goes. It says, "Hi y'all, I'm about to have my first child in 3 weeks. I have seen some dads to be who are dotting and loving and tender towards their unborn children. And I feel distant, and I think it's a flight response and defense mechanism. I'm scared of the baby dying or having severe mental disabilities, and I'm even scared of feeling guilty if I do things for myself rather than for him. I intellectually know it needs to be a balance. I want to be open and loving towards my son, but I'm defensive against being so vulnerable and potentially exposing myself to so much pain. It doesn't feel like a choice to be closed off. For what it's worth, I'm very open with my spouse about, It says, for what it's worth, I'm very open with my spouse, but closed off when she cries and gets very emotional. Again, my flight response. I wanted to ask if any other dads have felt this way towards their unborn children. Did it change for you? If so, when? Did you need to work to change your feelings, or did it just happen?" Okay, now listen. This is very deep. Well, I will consider it deep because you feel like you've lost a connection with an unborn child. And normally, the wife feels the most connection with the child because, it's inside of her. So the father's connection with the child, through the kicks and everything from the interaction that he has with the child inside of the womb, that's a little different. So the fact that he's having these feelings of disconnect and feeling distant and wanting to do stuff for himself but feeling guilty about it, we're gonna really get into it and actually kind of break it down. So he's feeling distant from his unborn son. Okay, so he's gonna have his first child in 3 weeks. And he's watching other dads being like real loving and tender with their unborn children. And I'm kind of curious on, have you talked to those dads about it? Like, is these dads in his circle, or is these dads some people that he's seeing on Facebook and just kind of assuming that is a lovey-dovey type of situation? Because let's be honest, if you actually look at Facebook, it's some people be lying on there. So when you look at just pictures and everything, it's not a whole 100% about whether or not that they actually do it. That's what it really is. So I'm actually kind of curious where he's seeing these dads at, and if he's actually had conversation with like dads in his circle, or do he have dads in his circle that he actually could have a conversation with. So then the other thing that he has right there is basically he said that he thinks it's his flight response and defense mechanism. Now, I can't say that it's a flight response and defense mechanism because what are you flying? What are you trying to run away from? I'm about to say fly away. Well, what are you running away from? What are you distant? What are you defensive about? Nothing is happening directly to you for you to try to run. It's not like you're arguing with your spouse. It's not like you're arguing with this kid and the kid is saying something back to you. So I'm kind of a little bit lost there, where he believes that it's his flight response and his defense mechanism. Like, what are you being defensive about? Now, it also states that you're being scared of the baby dying or having severe mental disabilities. First of all, I don't even know how old you are. I don't know how old your wife is. The fact that you're thinking of the baby dying and the baby is only 3 weeks away. Now, there could be a stillbirth, true, but that's something that they pretty much would kind of know prior to the baby being born. I mean, you have 3 weeks left. Essentially, the baby can be born within the next 2 weeks. Like, it's really the end of the line. So now that you're having all of these feelings, I really think that you're more scared of being a father than anything, because it's your first child. So, and that's understandable. It's a very overwhelming feeling, sometimes a very welcoming feeling. Everybody experiences they're having their first child differently. When I had my son and I knew he was coming along, I was nerve-wracked for the most part, because I didn't know what kind of father I was going to be, because I didn't have my father. So I didn't have the best guide to being a father in my life. So when it came to being a father, I knew the only thing I wanted to do differently was I wanted to be there for my son. So that was the most important thing to me, was to make sure that I was going to be in my son's life. Everybody doesn't have that idea. Some people have very shitty parents. And when they have those shitty parents, then one of the things that they look at is, I got shitty parents, so I'm going to be a shitty parent too, or I don't want to be a shitty parent. So there's only 2 routes that you can take there. The fact that you are thinking about your child having severe mental disabilities, that is a possibility. That is a very high, it's not a high possibility, but it's a possibility that they can come out with severe mental issues. But even if that is the case, I wouldn't suggest thinking about that. Like, don't manifest that into reality. I think you should really just approach this with an open mind and an open heart, and kind of just let everything kind of just fall by the wayside. Your child is not going to come out, I can't say for sure your child is going to come out with mental disabilities or not, but you're not really going to find that out. Sometimes you can find it out at the birth, and other times you're going to find out like a little bit later. You may find out that they're blind, or they have bad vision, probably like 2-3 years old when they get their eyes checked, or somewhere around that time you'll actually learn that stuff. Some things you kind of find out over time, and then some things you find out right there at the birth. But I think in hindsight, majority of the kids that are being born are born healthy. They're not really born with any kind of severe or mental issues. There's probably a small percentage of kids that are born with autism or an extreme mental disability, unless that's just something that happens in your family and it is hereditary. Then then I will be concerned. But for the most part, I don't really think there's anything to be concerned about. You should really just be open and welcome to this glorious and blessing that's going to be in your life. So, and now we get into a point where you're saying that you're feeling guilty of the things you do for yourself rather for him. Let's be honest. What more can you really do for a child that's still in the womb? There's not much you can do. For the most part, the only thing you can really do is talk to them, show them love, show them concern, and tend to your wife's needs or your girlfriend's needs. I don't know. You said spouse, so I really don't know exactly if this is your girlfriend or. Normally when people say spouse, it really means wife, but there's really no telling where this comes from, because it's interchangeable for the most part, depending on how long they've been together. But if we're looking at, you're talking about feeling guilty for things you do for yourself. I mean, if the baby got a crib, clothes, if you went ahead and y'all had the baby shower, if y'all do that where you're at, I think the baby has all it needs until it's born. I think you should really look forward to those sleepless nights, and look forward to playing with the baby and the spit up and the boo boo diapers, all of that stuff. You should look forward to. Like, you're gonna be doing the baby a pure justice just by being there, changing the diaper, making them laugh, holding them while they're crying, all of that stuff. Doing for you ain't bad. Like, unless you're out there, you buy a 2-seater car and you can't put a child seat in there, then yes, you should definitely feel guilty. You'd be a trash parent if you go buy a 2-seater car. Like, you go buy like a two-door Mercedes or something like that, or a Ferrari that ain't got a back seat, and you like, oh, well, I did this for me. That would be kind of selfish. No, don't do that part. Don't be that person. Okay. So, I mean, but what are you doing for yourself that will make you feel guilty? Like, you bought yourself a video game, you bought yourself some new tools, you bought an engine to put inside of a car. Like, what did you do? I mean, you're still allowed to treat yourself. I wouldn't necessarily say that it has to be a balance. Some people treat it as a balance. If I buy my son some shoes, I gotta buy myself some shoes. If I bought my daughter a dress, I gotta buy myself a dress. Or if I buy myself a dress, I buy my daughter a dress. Or, you know, something like that. There's not really a balance to it. And I've tried the balance thing where, you know, I want to go and buy myself some fast food. But I didn't want to necessarily buy my son fast food. I just wanted to eat for me because I knew food was at home. But I had a taste for something. But does that mean that I need to buy him the same taste for something that I'm having? No, he can eat at home. Now, if I go and buy me some gym shoes, then yeah, I'm gonna buy him some gym shoes. But if I go out there and he has 3, 4, 5 pair of brand new gym shoes, and I need gym shoes or shoes for a particular situation or a particular occasion, am I gonna say, you know what? I'm buying these dress shoes because I have an event that I have to go to and I need some new dress shoes, or I just need some dress shoes for this event. Am I gonna also buy him some dress shoes too? No, he's not even going to the event. So why would I buy him some dress shoes and he's not even going to the event? So you have to look at it in that situation. It's not gonna always be a balance. You may have to buy your son something specifically for him. Are you going to turn around and buy yourself something specifically for you in relation to trying to maintain that balance? Or are you going to look at balance as, well, I bought him milk, I'm going to buy me a 6-pack. Like, there's no such thing as balance when it comes to spending for a child. There's no such thing as balance. There's no such thing as balance with kids at all, because they're always going to need something more specifically. They're going to need something specific for them versus the stuff that we need as adults. So there's really no balance. So I really don't want you to get caught up in the idea of, is there a balance? Because there's not. And the better you can understand that, the better off you're going to be. Because it's really just a give and take of every situation. Because every situation is going to be different depending on the situation. I mean, if you, like I said, if you buy yourself an outfit for a special occasion, maybe you're going on an interview, or maybe you're about to get a promotion, or something of the fact that you're going to a corporate event, or whatever the case is, you're not going to turn around and equally spend that same amount of money on your child. Like, I want you to kind of get the balance thing outside of your head. But I do want to talk to you about this flight response and defense mechanism. I really don't understand how you have a flight response and defense mechanism towards your own child, and your child is not here yet. And like I said before, I really think that you're really trying to run away as a father because it's your first child and it's new to you. So when you talk about flight response and defense mechanism, like a defense mechanism is something where something positive is happening or something is occurring, and you react to it sometime unconsciously. Like, you're in a relationship and say a girl says that she loves you or something, and then your first mind would be to sabotage the relationship. Like, that's sort of kind of like a defense mechanism, or because you're protecting yourself from getting hurt. So with that in mind, I just don't understand where the defense mechanism comes in at when we're talking about your own child, because the child hasn't did anything to you. It hasn't even arrived yet. So I think it's more so the idea that you don't want to be, you're scared of being a father, and that's okay. A lot of people, like I said, a lot of people approach it differently when it comes to being a father. Now, when we talk about the flight response, like flight or fight, again, that's something happening to you, and either you're gonna fight, and that more so pertains to like dangerous, not really dangerous situations, but it really pertains to situations where you probably gonna end up in a fight or an argument, altercation, or something like that, and your response is, well, I'm gonna flee, or I'm gonna stand and fight. That's kind of where flight and flight response comes from. So I'm gonna jump down to this next paragraph, and that you want to be open and loving towards your son, but you're defensive. You don't want to be vulnerable and potentially expose yourself to so much pain. What I don't get is, why do you feel like there's going to be pain? Like, what is this child doing to you? Like, is this something that your wife is doing, or is this some? And I'm really curious, because one of the questions I have is, what was your relationship with your father? And from the way this post is sounding, like you didn't have your father in your life, so you really don't know how to approach the situation, and it doesn't sound like you have anybody to talk to. Yes, you talk to your spouse, but clearly she's emotional and you can't help her, but we're going to get to that in a second. But this vulnerable and potentially exposing yourself to so much pain, how it sounds like that you could be very sensitive towards the situation, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I guess I'm kind of lost, because you want to be vulnerable and you want to be open and loving towards your son, which the child hasn't gotten here yet. But in the same token, you don't want to you don't want to expose yourself to so much pain. But what pain are you going to expose yourself to? Like, honestly, when I see my son born, truthfully, when I see my son born, he came out like real light skinned. I was really ignorant to babies being born, and he came out like really light skinned. He's still light skinned to this day, but he came out really light skinned. And I challenged my son's mother, and I asked her for a blood test, because essentially I didn't think he was mine. Even though she said the same thing that all women, well, I was only sleeping with you, but we seen the Maury, we seen the court shows, the paternity court shows and all that stuff like that, and we know the results always come out some kind of way, you ain't the father and all that stuff like that. Which my son's mother, she was real cool about it. She said, okay, that's fine and everything, but she did try to hit me with that, well, I only been with you, but after her pregnancy, she was like, okay, well, whatever, fine. And I paid for the paternity test and everything. But this kid is doing nothing to you. And I kind of hope that, after you kind of see this video, or if you see this video, that, your first mind would be to kind of drop it sounds like you're overthinking the situation, honestly, because the child is not even here, and there's nothing happening to you that will warrant you to be in so much pain. Like, obviously you're super scared of having a mentally challenged kid. And honestly, I hate to say this, but I understand where you're coming from, because if and when you have a child that is mentally challenged or have mental disabilities, it does come with a little bit more patience. It does come with a little bit more concern. It does come with a little bit more work. And I get that. But to walk into the situation, to be scared of the baby dying, to be scared that it has severe mental disabilities. I know we see the stuff on TV. I know that you read the articles and it's a possibility, and you look at the percentages of the population that it happens to, but you have to get past that. It's not something that you can control. You telling me that you're gonna get rid of the baby if it has severe mental issues, or if it's severe mental disabilities? If it has physical disabilities, are you gonna set the baby away for adoption? That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound fair. And I'll even go further. The fact that you even wrote this post, I'm glad that you wrote it, because it's something that I'm pretty sure people think about, or people don't think about. But at the same, I think you're really kind of going overboard with it, because it sounds like if it does happen, then you're gonna abandon it all. If the baby does die, what are you gonna do? You're still gonna feel some kind of pain on some kind of level. That's gonna be unavoidable. If it has severe mental disabilities, are you gonna walk away from the mother and the baby? Like, I don't see what the end game is by thinking like this. And then if it does happen, what are you going to do? You can either going to have a healthy child, or it's going to be somewhere along on the spectrum, or it's going to have some physical disability. I mean, it's a lot of things, or a lot of possibilities that can happen. But I guess my biggest question is what are you going to do? Are you going to run? Are you going to stand and fight and be helpful and be present in a relationship and be present in a child's life? Or are you going to be that person that's going to run away, walk away, and then not say anything about it? I mean, that's really the true question right there. Because if you're going to do that, then this whole thing right here makes sense. It is really going to make you, dare I say this, a coward, because it's already sounding like, you're saying your flight and fight and flight response is going to happen, and you're just going to get going. That's what it sounds like. But we're going to go ahead and continue. So, as you said, you're very open with your spouse, but you close off when she cries and she gets very emotional. So here's my question with this. How long have y'all been together? She gets emotional, she cries, and then my guess is you go to the other room. You go to the basement, to your man cave. Help me understand what are you gonna do when you have a child and your child cries and your child gets emotional and your child doesn't know what's going on. Are you gonna have a flight and fight response then? Help me understand, because it doesn't make sense, because you're going into a world, or you're going into a situation where your child is going to have, and honestly tell me that you're gonna walk away from your child after they scrape their knee because they're crying. That makes no sense. I don't understand the type of person that doesn't console their wife when that person cries or gets very emotional. And honestly, because she's pregnant, her hormones could be like really elevated. Not everybody handles pregnancies differently. Sometimes their hormones is elevated, sometimes it's not. I ain't a doctor. I'm not really trying to get into that. But however the case is, I know when my son mother, she actually went into a depression when she was pregnant, and as much as I try to console her and be there for her, there's only so much a person can do to help somebody else out. And you have to be there for your spouse. I can't really tell you how to live your relationship, because you're going to do what you want to do. But my only concern is, like, the child. Like, you're saying that you feel distant from this child and you're doing X, Y, Z. I really think that that's something that you need to conquer. That's something that you need to overcome. I don't believe that you should continue moving forward with these feelings and these emotions towards this child that has not even came. It's not even here yet. So I think that is very essential for you to actually take that into consideration and let that kind of flight and fight response kind of subside and kind of overcome that. I really think you probably should go to therapy and really talk this out. And the reason why I'm recommending therapy, because I would dislike for the child to come into the world and then you can't adequately be there for that person at all. That would be devastating if you can't be there with that person. So I really think there's some things that you probably should work on as you move forward. And don't get me wrong, I've been in situations with my son that a lot of men probably have been in with their kids. The disrespect, the unwanted feeling, the unappreciated feeling, a lot of misconceptions, trying to fight for custody for your kids. So, there's so many things I can understand when it comes to being a parent, especially being that I raised my son since he was 3 with literally no help from his mother whatsoever. So I do understand, but I can't understand your position when it comes to this situation. I believe that once you see this child, it's all going to change for you. But I also feel like you should probably see like a counselor or something like that, just so you can kind of wrap your head around why you feel the way you felt to a child that wasn't here yet. Maybe you don't want the child. Maybe the child is not even yours. You could be saying it's your child and it's really somebody else's child. There's not enough information in this post that can guide me to all the questions that I just answered in this post and everything. So, and I'm not, and again, I'm not against you or anything like that. Actually, I appreciate you actually just writing this post because it gave me a perspective that I didn't know that some men had. That they don't feel the connection with their child, and maybe you should have more conversations, or have more conversations with the child in the womb, or maybe you could try to bond with the child while in the womb. But I have a feeling that all that's going to change once that child actually is born, and your mindset and your emotions, all that stuff is going to change. But I'm kind of fearful of the idea. Well, not fearful, but I'm kind of concerned about the idea that your flight and fight response from your wife. I wonder if that's going to be the same towards your child, and I really think that's something that you should kind of focus on and have conversations about. But I'm gonna digress from that. So I want to go ahead and let you know. Thank you for watching. If y'all got any questions or anything or any topic that you want me to talk about, you can always email us at fairwomantonightsguy@gmail.com. You could go ahead and follow us on all our social medias at fairwellmng on TikTok, Instagram. Don't forget to go ahead and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and then go check out some of our other videos. So I will see you on the next recording. Peace.